my name is Soleil and welcome back to my channel. So today we have quite the video for you. So I am very excited to share my ultimate fall TV and movie guide. This comprises of 58, yes I did say 58, TV shows and movies across 9 different genres or categories. It's quite the list. So there is something for everyone on this list. I have broken it out into their own categories down below so you can skip around for specific genres that interest you. And I'm really excited to share these. This is going to be quite a hefty list, so I'm going to try to keep it short and snappy for each of the summaries. I've got kind of my notes right here to try to stay on track and just keep it very short and brief. If you have any questions about these, ask me down below. We've got mostly things that I've seen. We've got a couple spattered in that I've been meaning to watch that I've heard good reviews about. And I will let you know which those are so you know that it's not like a full recommendation. It's more of like what I want to watch. I've got a few of the classics spattered in that you've probably heard a lot about, so I'm just going to make a brief mention for those. Hopefully there are some on this list that you either haven't heard of or have heard only a little bit about. So grab a beverage, grab a snack, let's chat, and let's just look at my coffee cup. I love it so much. Oh my god. I got a new sauce that I've been trying out and I love it very much. It's from Tarani and it's pumpkin spice and it's a good gosh darn time. So let's go, let's talk. The categories that I'll be going through are as follows. We've got murder mystery, dark academia, romantic comedies, drama, fantasy, cottagecore, spooky, supernatural, and period dramas. I've decided to divide it out. So let's dive in with our first category of murder mysteries. Here we're starting off with Knives Out. So this film starts off with the death of a renowned crime novelist and the inquisitive detective Bernard Blanc, who is enlisted to investigate his death and if it in fact was a murder. His whole dysfunctional family is there for the reading of the will and they all want to get a piece of his estate. Next, along the same lines, we have See How They Run. So this starts off in the West End of 1950s London, where plans for a movie version of a smash hit play come to an abrupt halt when a member of the crew is mysteriously murdered. So a very weary inspector takes on the case along with a rookie sidekick who's played by Saoirse Ronan. They take on the case and they start investigating the mysterious homicide at their own peril. Then we have Death on the Nile. This starts off with Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot, who goes on an Egyptian vacation. All of a sudden, a murder takes a picture-perfect idyllic honeymoon into an investigation. Then we have the classic Nancy Drew, the movie, where an intrepid teenage private eye, Nancy Drew, heads to the small town with her father to investigate an unsolved murder of a movie star. Then we have a classic, Clue. So in Clue, we find our 6 colorful dinner guests gathered in a mansion with their host. When one of them turns up dead after his secret is exposed, they all must try to figure out who the murder is, where it happened, and what was the murder weapon. Now we have a few TV shows. So first we have Only Murders in the Building, or we have 3 very wealthy residents who are all very strong murder mystery podcast enthusiasts who decide to do their own little murder mystery hunt investigation of their own when someone is murdered in their building. Then we have Pretty Little Liars, which is an absolute throwback to the 2000s, where we have a group of best friends who are consistently being threatened by an anonymous source known as A, who keeps trying to divulge their secrets. Next we have Big Little Lies, which involves the lives of multiple women, multiple mothers living in a small idyllic town, and all of a sudden their lives are thrown apart when a murder takes place. Then we have Sherlock, and when I mention Sherlock, I mean all of the Sherlocks. So I both mean the TV show Sherlock as well as the movies Sherlock Holmes. So the movies with Robert Downey Jr. and the TV show with Benedict Cumberbatch. I've seen the movies, loved the movies, and I've been meaning to watch the TV show. So They are all talking about Sherlock Holmes doing little murder mystery investigations, and it's all set in like a darker backdrop. And then last but not least, we have Scooby-Doo. And when I say Scooby-Doo, I mean every single one of the Scooby-Doos. So I'm talking about the classic animated series. I'm talking about the new 2021, 2022, I think 2021 animated movie. I'm talking about the live action films that I just showed you that came out in the 2000s. I'm talking all of Scooby-Doo. So Scooby-Doo is about the murder mystery gang, and the 5 of them, yes, the 5 of them, yes. And the 5 of them are a team trying to solve murder mysteries, and they always have some kind of like supernatural element, but then in actuality there's some kind of reason that explains everything, and it wasn't actually supernatural to begin with. So those are it for my murder mystery recommendations. Now on to the dark academia recommendations. So we're starting off with The Imitation Game. So this is based off of the real life story of the cryptanalyst Alan Turing. This takes place during the days of World War II as he and his team of code breakers trying to break a secret code during World War II. Then we have Tolkien. So I haven't seen this one yet. I've been meaning to. We shall see if it's any good. This is of course based off of the life of J.R.R. Tolkien, also known as John Reynold Real Tolkien, during the late 1800s to the 1900s. 3 of his schoolmates create a strong bond. They share a passion for literature, art, and a fellowship, but the outbreak of World War I threatens to destroy that. Then we have Dorian Gray. This is of course based off of A Picture of Dorian Gray, which is a classic novel that I think I've started and stopped many, many times. There are multiple different adaptations of The Picture of Dorian Gray, but I'm specifically talking about the Ben Barnes, like 2019 or something adaptation. So this is about a vain London playboy who offers his soul in exchange for eternal beauty. This is also starring Colin Firth, another reason I really want to watch this. And the handsome young aristocrat Dorian Gray becomes obsessed with maintaining his youthful appearance and commissions a portrait of himself. Then I have Mary Shelley, which I also haven't watched and have been meaning to watch, which is about the love affair between the poet Percy Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft. And this resulted in, of course, the immortal novels by Percy Shelley, but also Mary Wollstonecraft's own works. And this wouldn't be a complete dark academia recommendation list if I did not include Dead Poets Society. If you do not know what Dead Poets Society is about, it's about an elite old-fashioned boarding school in New England where a passionate young English teacher, played by Robin Williams, tries to inspire his students to rebel against convention. Next up, we have romantic comedies. We've got a lot of classics in here, maybe some you haven't seen yet. We shall see. First, we need a coffee break. First, we have the 1980 classic Moonstruck, which stars Cher and Nicolas Cage. If you haven't seen this and you are confused, it's amazing. It's beautiful. They're wonderful together in this romantic comedy, and is it a classic. So this is about the Italian-American widow Loretta, who's about to accept a marriage proposal from her boyfriend Johnny, but then she finds that she is falling for his younger brother, played by Nicolas Cage. Soon they start a little bit of a love affair while the older brother is out of the country, and we see how things turn out for them. Then we have Four Weddings and a Funeral, and by this I mean both the movie and the TV show. So they made a TV show based off of the movie. I love both of them unconditionally. They're both amazing in their own right. And both of them deal with this really interesting concept where over these 5 particular social events, being 4 weddings and 1 funeral, a bachelor must decide if he has now unscrupulously fallen in love. While the TV show is a little bit more focused on a group of friends who are all attending these weddings and this 1 funeral together. Then we have Autumn in New York, which I have never seen but looks amazing, and I really want to put it on my list because it looks peak autumnal movie. I mean, it's in the title, like, you can't argue with that, you know? So Autumn in New York follows the sexual exploits of Will Keane, a New York restaurateur infamous verging on 50 playboy, master of no commitment seduction, until he runs into the unexpected dead end when he meets Charlotte. Charlotte is half his age and twice his match, a free spirit yearning to get out and taste the excitement of adult life. So we'll see how this one goes. This one came out in the early 2000s and it's starring Richard Gere and Winona Ryder. Now here we have the classics of the classics, which we must mention, we must talk about. If you haven't seen these, I implore you to treat yourself to something magical. And these are Sleepless in Seattle, where a young boy tries to set up his father on a date after the death of his mother. He calls into a radio show to talk about his dad's loneliness and soon leads his dad into meeting with a journalist. Then we've got Mystic Pizza. So this is about a group of 3 teenage girls coming of age while working at a pizza parlor in Mystic, Connecticut. Then you've got Mail, a classic Meg Ryan movie, where a book superstore magnate Joe Fox and an independent bookstore owner, Kath and Kelly, fall in love on the internet, both blissfully unaware that they know each other, and he's trying to push her out of business. This followed by another Meg Ryan classic, When Harry Met Sally. During a trip from Chicago to New York, Harry and Sally debate whether or not sex ruins a friendship between a man and a woman. 11 years later, they are still no closer to finding the answer. And last of all, I must mention it. It is, I can't stop myself. I can't stop myself. If you haven't watched Gilmore Girls, I mean, now's your time to shine. If you keep hearing so many people talk about Gilmore Girls and you're like, it's overhyped, don't worry about it. No one needs to know. You can just watch it. You don't have to tell anybody about it. You can just have a good time, cozy up, watch some episodes. I just started my rewatch unintentionally because I couldn't fall asleep one night and I was trying to find something comforting to watch and I just couldn't find anything. All of the TV shows I was watching at the time were dramas and I needed something to fall asleep to. I was like, I'll just watch an episode, and now I'm on season 4. Like, we can't control it. It just happens to us, you know? Coffee break before the next category. Next category we have is Supernatural, and we're starting off with a classic that I've actually never seen that I really am looking forward to watching this autumn, and that is Practical Magic. So this is about the Owens sisters who are born into a magical family but have mostly avoided witchcraft themselves. But when a tragedy occurs in the family, the girls must confront magic and try to resurrect a loved one. This leads to some unintended consequences. Next, we have The Prestige. This is a mysterious tale about 2 magicians who have been on a lifelong rivalry, full of obsession, deceit, jealousy, and magic. Ghostbusters. Then we have Ghostbusters, which I don't even know if I've seen the original Ghostbusters. I have it right here in my hand. I know I've seen like the newest, like the 2000s like revival of Ghostbusters. I don't know if I've seen the classic, but I want to, and it's time, and I have a DVD copy. So Ghostbusters. After losing their academic posts at a prestigious university, a team of parapsychologists goes into business of ghost busting as they try to exterminate ghosts in their community. Perfect, great. And now on to the TV shows. So when you hear Supernatural, yes, so also the TV show is Supernatural. I will say the first 3 or 4 seasons are all that I've seen, and that's all I really want to see. No offense to the Supernatural like obsessed fans. I'm so glad, good for you. It got a little too much for me. It got too scary. And like the first 3 seasons were already scary enough, and they just kept upping the ante, and like at some point like the villain was just like, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I know that they just keep having to make the villain bigger and bigger, and at some point you're like, well, that's it, you've maxed out. So anyways, I loved the first few seasons though. So up until like season 3, good stuff. Basically a team of brothers who are hunting the supernatural, who are making it the family business, who are spurred by their own personal vengeance. Then we have one of my favorite shows of all time, and I'm gonna try to not get too emotional about this because I just watched the second season like a couple days ago and I'm still not okay. And that is Good Omens. So Good Omens tells the story about an angel and a demon as they've worked together since the literal beginning of time and have worked together to try to help out and save humanity from the greater powers that be. It's hilarious, it's heartfelt, it's beautiful, it's romantic, it's supernatural, it's amazing. And season 2, then we have Wednesday, which I think came out last year and was very instantly popular, and I finally watched it like in December, which was very late to the game. But if you haven't seen Wednesday, it's about Wednesday Addams from the Addams family as she goes to a boarding school and just a bunch of supernatural kooky things happen, and she's very standoffish and mysterious. Then we have The Umbrella Academy. Love The Umbrella Academy. So The Umbrella Academy starts off with the mysterious birth of 43 individuals who were born within an instant to women who were not pregnant before these children were born. 7 of them were adopted by a billionaire who decided to hone them and raise them into an elite fighting force known as the Umbrella Academy. And these kids become very kooky adults who then have to try to use their powers to save the world. Then we have Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And no, I do not mean the like modern Sabrina show. I'm sorry, that is not my vibe. I'm talking about the 1990s Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Absolute classic. I'm on like season 4 and I'm addicted. This is good. If you're looking for like classic sitcom, but you want 1990s nostalgia, but you want witches and supernatural, and you want something to laugh at and something funny and like some teenage drama, Sabrina the Teenage Witch is fantastic, and it is there for you. And lastly, we have Stranger Things. So Stranger Things is just, it's great, it's great. Stranger Things takes place in the 1980s in Indiana when a group of young friends witness some supernatural events and some government exploits. They decide to search for answers, and in the midst of that, unravel a mystery. Now we're moving on to the fantasy category and having another coffee break. We're like halfway through. It's fine. So, fantasy, we're starting off with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. You most likely know what this is about. I'm going to try to summarize it, see if I even know what it's about. So, magical fantasy land. A young hobbit goes off in search of adventure, in search of destiny, with a ragtag group of fellows. Did I get it? I think I did. So, if you haven't seen that, autumnal vibes all the way through. Next we have Age of Adeline. So this is about a 29-year-old Adeline who recovers from a near lethal accident and then all of a sudden stops aging. Through all these years, she keeps this secret to herself until she finds a man who she wants to share her secret with. Then in a similar vein, we have The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So this is about Benjamin. This one stars Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett, and born under mysterious circumstances, Benjamin Button starts off life as a little old elderly man, and he ages in reverse. 12 years after his birth, he meets Daisy, a child who flits in and out of his life as she grows up to be a dancer and he ages down. Then we have The Spiderwick Chronicles, starring Freddie Highmore in a very young age. So upon moving into the rundown Spiderwick estate with their mother, twin brothers Jared and Simon, along with their sister Mallory, find themselves pulled into an alternate world filled with fairies and other creatures. Magical. And last of all, a bold recommendation on my part, Bridge to Terabithia, which I've only seen once and it scarred me for life, and I think it might be time for me to rewatch it. This is starring Josh Hutcherson and Anna Sophia Robb and Zooey Deschanel. It starts off with young Jessie, who's been training all summer to become the fastest runner in school, when all of a sudden Leslie outruns him and everyone else. Despite their differences in class and background, they become fast friends, and together they create the world of Terabithia, a land of monsters, trolls, ogres, giants, and they together rule as king and queen. And something really emotional and tragic happens towards the end of the story. If you've seen it, you know. I just want to warn you, because little 11-year-old Soleil, who watched this with her friends on her birthday, was scarred for life. Besides for that, it's a really amazing and emotional movie, and I'm sure I can handle that ending now as an adult, but we shall see. Now we move on to period dramas, and yes, you guessed it, sip time. Okay, we start off with another classic, Little Women. 4 sisters come of age in America after the aftermath of the Civil War. Did you know that was what it was about? Apparently that is. So then we have Pride and Prejudice. I'm specifically talking about this Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley, but also I've been meaning to watch the other Pride and Prejudice with, was it Colin Firth? Or is it Hugh Grant? No, it's Colin Firth, right? Who's the other Pride and Prejudice? Yeah, so this is the American, the US Pride and Prejudice. I want to watch the BBC UK Pride and Prejudice. But either way, I digress. This is a story of love and life among the English gentry during the Georgian era. Next we have The Princess Bride. Another classic. So this is a cracked fairy tale where the beautiful Princess Buttercup and the dashing Wesley must overcome staggering odds to find happiness among swordsmen, murderous princes, Sicilians, and rodents of unusual size. Then we have Becoming Jane, which I have not seen, starring Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy. It's a biographical portrait of Jane Austen and her romance with a young Irishman before she became the well-known Jane Austen we know today. Next we have The Favorite, which is a star-studded cast with Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and Nicholas Hoult. Starting in England, early 18th century, which showcases the close relationship between Queen Anne and Sarah Churchill, which then becomes threatened by the arrival of Sarah's cousin. The two then begin a bitter rivalry to become the Queen's favorite. Then we have Mary, Queen of Scots, starring Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan. This starts in 1561, where Mary Stuart is the widow of King of France and returns to Scotland to reclaim her throne. She then becomes a threat to the Queen of England, as Mary, Queen of Scots also has a claim to the English throne. And then last of all, a TV show recommendation, which is The Queen's Gambit. If you haven't seen The Queen's Gambit, my God, is it good. The Queen's Gambit stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomas Brodie Sangster. It is set during the Cold War era and is about a chess child prodigy who struggles with addiction and begins her quest to become the world's greatest chess player. Now into the dramas. So we really only have 2 dramas. This is just kind of the catch-all category of these 2 other films that I just didn't feel fell into the other categories. So first we have October Sky, which stars Laura Dern and Jake Gyllenhaal. It's based on the true story of Homer Hickam, a coal miner's son who was inspired by the first Sputnik launch to take up rocketry against his father's wishes and eventually become a NASA scientist. I read this book like way back in the day in like middle school and then watched the movie, and it was a great experience, and it is autumnal vibes all the way. Then we have Good Will Hunting, which I finally watched for the first time this past month. So this is starring Matt Damon, Robin Williams, and Ben Affleck, and it is about Will Hunting, who has a genius level IQ but chooses to work at as a janitor in MIT until one day someone discovers that he solved a nearly impossible to solve equation just on his quick little janitorial lunch break. Later he's arrested for an altercation with the police, and this professor that discovered his level of genius decides to mentor him and get him out of trouble as long as he starts seeing a therapist for his anger issues. Now we have a couple cottagecore films and TV. Some of these might fall a little more into the spring and summer vibes. It really depends on you. I feel like the fall time for me is all about kind of earthiness, nostalgia, a little bit of spook, a little bit of supernatural. So really it's up to you. But all of these felt pretty cottagecore autumnal to me. So first we have Peter Rabbit. which is a live action slash animated film that shows off Peter Rabbit's feud with Mr. McGregor, which escalates to greater heights than ever before as they rival for the affections of a warm-hearted animal lover who lives next door. So cute. Then we have Tuck Everlasting, which I don't think I actually ended up seeing the movie because I read it for a book club like 2 years ago, and then I wasn't able to watch the movie along with the book club. But I read the book and I didn't love the book, but I think I might enjoy the movie more. So Tuck Everlasting is about a teenager, Winnie Foster, who's growing up in a small rural town in 1914. With her loving but overprotective parents, she longs for a life of greater freedom and adventure, and that's when she meets the mysterious family next door. So this was the 2002 film, which stars Alexis Bledel, who also plays Rory Gilmore in Gilmore Girls. Then we have Miss Potter, starring Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor. This is showing the life of Beatrix Potter, the author of The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and her struggles for life, happiness, and success. We have 2 shows in this category. We have Over the Garden Wall, which is a really short mini series that follows, I think they're 2 brothers or they're 2 friends, I'm pretty sure they're brothers, on their little autumnal adventures. It's super cute, but it's also leaving, I think it's on HBO Max right now. It's leaving the streaming platform either very soon or like it's like about to leave, or it might have just left. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would watch it as soon as possible because it is leaving streaming for now, which really sucks. And then we have Anne with an E, which is based off of Anne of Green Gables and tells the story of Anne as she's adopted in the countryside and she figures out her life. All right, we finally made it to the last category, which is spooky. So another beverage break. Okay, spooky is about the scariest level that we're going to get together because I don't like scary things. I don't like to feel fear out of choice, if that makes sense. Yeah, so horror is not for me, but spooky I can do. And these spooky shows and movies, I think they're mostly shows, a couple movies, they're about my maximum. I've seen some other spooky things and I'm not gonna recommend them because I don't like being scared in that way. But these are amazing, and these I would watch again. And these, like, I was scared, I felt spooked, but it felt with good reason. And I respected the way that they did it, you know? And it's just good stuff. It just happens to be scary. So let's talk about it. First, we have 2 that are kind of linked, which is The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. Listen, when the first one came out, The Haunting of Hill House, it looked really scary. And I was like, oh, but it looked so good. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And I did, and I made it through, and I survived, and God, it was good. The characters, amazing. So it's a tale that starts off and it interweaves kind of 2 different timelines. It starts off about a mother and her 4 children, the 4 siblings, and she ends up getting this house, this large abandoned mansion, and it ends up being haunted. So these 4 siblings, they really go through it and experience some scary, spooky things in this house, and you're watching this happen parallel to seeing them like 20 something years later and seeing kind of what happened and trying to figure out what went down when they were younger. And all of these kind of scary things start happening again, and there are these reoccurring things, and God, it is so well done. Like, there is so much emotional turmoil built in. The characters are amazing. I love the characters. Oliver Jackson Cohen, who plays Luke, take my entire soul. Take my entire soul. I was rooting for him the entire time, and I love that man. God. And then Victoria Pedretti, love of my life. She's in both of the shows, Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor. Haunting of Bly Manor is, it uses a lot of the same actors, but they're different people in Haunting of Bly Manor. Oh, it's fascinating. It's so well done, and I will watch anything that she is in. Oh my God, I'm in love with her. Then we have The Twilight Zone, which I have never seen. I've never seen The Twilight Zone. I want to watch it. It looks spooky and like a little mysterious, and like it's going to blow my mind. And I don't really know even all that much about what it's about, but I've always wanted to see it, and I feel like this is the time. I think this is it. I think it's time for me to watch The Twilight Zone. And similar to Twilight Zone is Black Mirror. So if you haven't seen Twilight Zone, you might have seen Black Mirror. It's kind of like the modern Twilight Zone is how I've heard people talk about it, but again, I haven't seen Twilight Zone, so I can't personally say that. Black Mirror basically just takes the surreal, it takes the scary like things of reality and takes them to a futuristic and like almost fantastical level, where it kind of exploits the eerie, creepy things about the modern era, and then tell stories about if those kind of like creepier things went to the extreme. So there's one about how every interaction with someone you have to rate your interaction with someone, and that person's entire identity and their net worth is based off of their social rating they have from other people, which is kind of, you know, based off of the idea of like expletive social media. And it is just eerie and mind-boggling, the entire thing. And there is definitely like a range of spookiness in it. There are much more tame episodes, like the one I just mentioned. That is like the most tame, least spooky, just kind of like mind-boggling one. And then there's like gory, intense, horror, scary, messed up episodes. So really you can just pick and choose. None of them are really connected. Some of them are like a little connected, but you can just pick and choose episodes based off of your preference of scary level. Then we have the series of unfortunate events, and by this I mean both the movie and the TV series. So the movie came out the early 2000s, I think, with Jim Carrey, and I've always loved this movie. This movie scared me as a child. It's really not that scary, but it scared me as a child. There's a scene where there are leeches in a lake, and I was convinced that I should be afraid of any time I go into a body of water there being leeches. So, you know, that was great. But the movie is great. It's about 3 wealthy children's parents who are suddenly killed in a fire. This is literally within the first 5 minutes. This is not a spoiler. When they are sent to a distant relative, they find out that he is plotting to kill them and seize their fortune. So they are kind of passed along to other relatives along the way, and they really are just trying to stick together and protect each other while also fleeing this murderous uncle. The show is very similar, except the show actually spans the entire book series, because there's a book series, and the show was both produced by Neil Patrick Harris, but he's also one of the star roles, and the show is really well done and amazing. So honestly, you can go either way. Both of them are great. Just watch it all, watch it all. And then last of all, we have Haunted Mansion. So when I say Haunted Mansion, I mean the one that just came out, the 2023 version. I tried watching like the early 2000, 1990, I think, classic with Eddie Murphy, because I really wanted to get the spooky vibes, and honestly I was so bored in the first 20 minutes that I didn't make it any further. And I'm sure it gets good, I'm sure it gets funny and interesting, but like I couldn't make it past 15 minutes. I gave up. But the new one is great and I loved it. So this is about a woman and her son who enlist a motley crew of so-called spiritual experts to help rid their home of supernatural squatters. This movie's hilarious, it's fun, it's emotional, it's got so much drama going on, and it's not very scary. Like, it's eerie and it's a little spooky, but like it's not scary. So it's really for the whole family. And with that, we have made it through 58 recommendations. Honestly, more, because some of the movie and TV shows were, you know, the same title, but movie and TV show related. So anyways, if you watched it all the way through, please leave me whatever autumnal fall emoji you want. Make your choice, take your pick. If you have any movies or TV shows that feel like fall to you, irregardless of if I mentioned them or not, please let me know down below. I would love to hear what you love to watch. during this spooky time. If you like scary things, if you do not like scary things, hopefully there was something on this list that you want to watch now, that you feel excited about. I hope this was helpful to you. But otherwise, if you want more recommendations, there are more recommendations out there, and I can find some for you. So let me know if you would like an extended list of some more recommendations. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful autumnal season, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!